Yes, guys, welcome back to the Once You're In podcast. We have another special guest episode. I'm not going to do what I did last week when I was like in the middle, really good looking man, because I'm in the middle. So I got it wrong last time. It was meant to be Jack. I wasn't being really egotistical. It was an accident, guys. So we have Mr. Joe Gann, or is it Gannabolic, which I saw you've recently changed your name, and I was like, that is fantastic.
I don't know why it's taken me till now to clock that name.
It
I
is
was
good.
making my P. I was like, just bought PS5, like I said, we were just talking about it. I was like, what can I make my name? And I chose that. I was like, that'll make a good Instagram app. To be fair, because my old Instagram account was just Joe Gann, but it got hacked and taken down. So mine was like Joe Gann underscore, and that underscore always annoyed me. So I was like, I'm just gonna change it up.
I saw it. I was like, fucking hell, that's a good shout. I wish I could have like a good name like that. Doesn't really work for my name.
Mm.
What would be yours then? What would be your like
Be
go
natural, be natural and small.
thin, natty, small, and cuckold?
Finasteride.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
That's what it would be. Joe, you used to have a Joe. Did you have Instagram before you had this Instagram? I remember seeing like you said that you
Yeah,
had
I
like
had an
20
Instagram. I think I had like 22,000 and it got taken down basically. Like, I wasn't even hacked. I wasn't even one of these dumbasses that like clicks a link or anything. It was someone trying to scam me. They had like mass reported my account, and then as soon as it got taken down, I got emailed saying, "Oh, we've realised that your Instagram has been hacked. I don't know how they would know this unless they done it right." And they're like, "Right, if you pay us £1,000, we can take it back." And then I was obviously just on the hunt trying to find people that could restore it, and I did find some people that would restore it, and it was happening to a few, bigger accounts like Joe Brightman's. It happened to TM Cycles. Theirs had the same kind of like scam that was happening to them. But the guy wanted me to send him a picture of me and my passport. I was willing to spend the money because it was like 4 years of work that I'd put into it, all my client results, all my educational reels, and I had like 22,000 on it. But he wanted me to, he had good reviews and everything by these people that would restore Instagram accounts, but he wanted me to send him a picture to do the authenticate or whatever with me and my passport. I was like, that photo could be used to open bank accounts and stuff like that. So I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to start fresh. And I just used it as like a game. Like, right, let's get the numbers up again. Like, started fresh. And it was on New Year's Day that happened. Imagine I was out as well.
Was this
Not New Year's,
that like this year, like or last year?
last year.
two back.
Okay.
So yeah. Oh, it's some grind starting again, honestly. Like, trying to grow your Instagram from zero is just such a grind.
Like you say, it's like I bet it's quite fun. I'm not saying that nobody.
Yeah, do you know what is actually my account? Even though it's got, what is it now, like 7,400, the engagement is 3 times the big account. Because on my old account, I had it from when I was like doing like modeling and shit and like fashion posts. So half the people following me don't give a shit about me like posing and like doing bodybuilding stuff. So the engagement was just trash. So I don't care about followers. It's all about like building a good following that actually engages with your account.
We were saying that a bit last week, weren't we, Reese, about like stories and stuff. I had a couple of people message me about that because like we would like, well, literally, I've only recently stopped just like sharing like all my client stories.
Yeah,
It ends up being like 30, 40 stories a day, and it's like people aren't watching that.
and then I think because, for example, like say you have like 30, 40 stories up, people get bored of it and swipe it across. And when Instagram clocks that people doing that, they don't show you stuff.
Yeah.
I've noticed when, like, at the end of the day, I've been doing this, right? Just in the morning, first thing in the morning, just delete all my Instagram stories from the day before. And then the first one you put up, make it a good one. And when people, that first one that you've put up and it's the only story you've got up and loads of people like it, mate, my story views double. Like, I've got, say, 7,400 followers, which is not a lot, but sometimes I might get 2,500, 3,000 story views, which is like almost half my followers.
Yeah, it's loads.
Not quite half, but like, if you lads have got like way more followers than me, if you utilize that, it's I think it's when it's Instagram's always just looking for a reason to push your account, your posts and stories up. Like if people are engaging with it, they want it. They want you to get good engagement because then it's more ads and like stuff like that. Like I think Instagram wants you to win, but people
Everybody.
see it the other way around. Like they see it like Instagram's trying to punish you, but half the time I think people's content just isn't good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think as well, like for me and Reese, we got to a point. Well, like you obviously build a business based on people seeing that you're helping people. So then you feel bad if
Yeah,
you're sharing your clients' stories. So like, I'll have to say to them like, if they tag me in something, I'm like, keep tagging me. I just like I'm not sharing it because of this, like, and letting them know, because otherwise I just feel
it
like,
is awkward, isn't it?
yeah, it's just you feel like that like the people that support you and like believe in you as a coach, like you don't want to be like fuck off, mate. Like I want to.
Yeah, because like say, because like I work with Cuba, right? Imagine I like if I put up a physique shot, right, and I tagged him and he didn't repost, I'd be like, oh, I look shit then.
He's not happy with me. He thinks I look shit.
Yeah, I've been binging.
I just like,
Or the worst is when a client tags you in a story and it's form footage and it's shit form. It's like I don't really want to share that,
but
but
yeah,
then I don't want to tear them down on my story either. I think Reese does
Yeah.
yeah, buddy, great set, yeah, buddy. Actually, could make it worse. They're too nice. They're
it.
too good.
Yeah, oh yeah,
The form's
that's the way
too
you do it.
controlled,
You end
bro.
up just making a joke, and they'll
Like
be
when
like, "Yes,
people when people do tag us in like a post and like like what are these like are these yeah buddy enough like or what do you think to these yeah buddy rows? I'll always put like awful mate, go heavier next time.
mate."
With your rows,
There's a
yeah,
guy.
like because you obviously with your rows and like some of your form, obviously it's suited to you, right? When clients send you form that arguably isn't good and needs more control, where do you stand on that?
It depends on anything really, and I will say as well, I feel like it's very easy to have this sort of like connotation towards like some of my rows. My rows really aren't that bad. Like they're not. I
Yeah,
feel
yeah,
like it's a joke about like yeah, buddy rows and stuff. I'll always like my back workout is genuinely 90. My every other exercise is the classic 2024 single arm, very slow and controlled, and then on a T-bar row, I'll say fuck it, let me whack on another plate and just have some fun. And at the end of the day, I'm probably more jacked than 99% of people that follow me. So I kind of get away with it. But it
it's
depends
a
really on the individual. You know, it
it's a
depends on the individual.
combination, isn't it? And it's a new if it's like a newbie, a new client, right, and they don't have the muscle to support and they have no business lifting that weight, then it's a different
Yeah.
story, isn't it? But
And also
there's a
taking it to
combination, knowing how to move a heavy load, but then also do the controlled squeezy work as well.
like I look at it and think like I hate to use like JP as an example because it's you could say about Dory and you could do this, you could do that. If you look at like someone like JP, his lateral raises, he does fucking 4 rep max lateral raises with a prime
Yeah,
lateral raise with like 80 kilos stacked, and he's like basically shrugging the weight up. And I look at that and think, probably could get more out the side delt, but it's fucking JP. And I'm not trying to compare myself or anyone else, but like training at the end of the day, I look at it as a very simple sort of like thought process. You're all in the gym to train and to progress your physique, ideally. That's what we're most doing it for. If someone does something that might be slightly suboptimal, or he just wants to do it, or he does something that I think is a bit fucking stupid, it's silly of me to even really place too much judgment. So if it's a client, I'll always advise, like, right, we want good form, we want to be training well, but I think everything works as long as you train hard. That's the way I'd look upon things.
yeah,
And I
that
think
is the
nowadays,
foundation, isn't it?
yeah, 100%. And I think nowadays everyone goes on the has to be fucking perfect and whatever. And in reality, it's not like that. It lies somewhere in the middle. I don't think you should be chasing feel. I don't think you should be chasing like load. I think it should be a bit of a both. But if anything, favor load, favor intensity, and just get somewhat of an okay feel, and you'll be cool.
I think it depends
I,
on the client. It depends on the set. It depends on the exercise. Like I'll have some clients where like they'll do one set of an exercise with pretty sloppy form, and they'll be like, "Oh, it's a bit of a yeah buddy set," but the other two are good. And it's like if it feels good and they don't hurt themselves, sound. You know what I mean? I don't
I was
mind.
saying this on my story the other day. It was like when I was coming up, like say when I was 17, 18, didn't have the knowledge we have now. So like you were just trying this stuff out. Try lift heavy, try lift lighter, all this other stuff. Whereas now people are, if anything, like with training, like from the day dot too informed. So they're trying to be too analytic and they think they know everything when they haven't even really worked out what works best for them. Like, I remember, like, I'm sure you were the same, like 17, 18. You're learning how to train hard by just blitzing your body. Like, you're not lifting enough weight to accumulate enough fatigue. So you don't need deloads. You don't need these fatigue management methods when you're like 17, 18, shifting one plate aside. You're just smashing drop sets, like 5 sets. And then that, even though it's suboptimal, you're still growing because it's such a new stimulus. Like the young kids now, they're getting too optimal from day one. Whereas, say me, I'm talking about this stuff because, we're lifting a lot more weight. So, and, we're more advanced. So, I do want to be more optimal. I do want to manage my fatigue. But like, the younger lads that I coach, we don't need to be thinking about that. Some of them might do 6, 7 months without a deload because they just haven't got the strength or the capabilities to train that hard to warrant one yet.
Yeah, agreed. Joe, I think you're forgetting that Finn is a natural bodybuilder, so everything that you say here could be taken as offence.
Bro, I'm natural.
Are you? Fair enough, man. I didn't know about that. I didn't know the glutes were natural. I think maybe everything else other than the glutes were natural.
Yeah, natty glutes.
So anyway, that was a good talking point. Joe, want to get into a bit of an introduction towards, obviously, I know you briefly spoken about social media and stuff. What's your bodybuilding sort of history, bro? Like, what was your first cycle? When did you jump on, bro? All this sort of stuff that people just want to know.
Well, when I first started lifting, I was 15, 16, as any young lad. I didn't really have any, like, this villain arc, right, where I was bullied or, like, super skinny. Like, I just wanted to be jacked. Like, ever since I was young, I just wanted to do press-ups. Like, my dad was training, so, I was surrounded by him being in the gym and whey protein being on the counter and that. So, got into the gym, made decent progress. I was pretty damn big for my age, like, I think I was like 17, 18. And then kind of went to uni and I managed to maintain like a good lean cap delts physique with ease without tracking macros. Back then, I didn't really have the passion that I do now for like learning and being knowledgeable. I just trained very hard, like drop sets, loads of volume, like just smashing my body and then just ate loads of food. But I'm naturally a leaner guy, so I've just maintained a lean physique anyways. Went to uni, party lifestyle, just maintained like a good rig to like go to festivals, go on holiday, and then come out of uni at say, what was I, 22, 21, 22, and got into like modeling stuff. So I was like very lean and I wanted to be leaner. Like everything I do, I wanted to like do the best at it and push it. And when I was going to castings as a model, I was like working at ASOS, doing their underwear stuff, like the suit company. And they would say like, oh, we're looking for like someone a bit slimmer, like, to fit so I would like I wasn't starving myself like I had a eating disorder. Like I wanted to be skinny, but I always trained. I've never stopped training, but I was under eating and doing too much cardio, but still lifted. And I kind of got in this weird mindset of almost like an eating disorder because I didn't realize how skinny I was getting. You've seen photos of like my transformation, and that's not me like naturally how I'm supposed to be. That was me like starving myself to get to that. So I was very meticulous with food there, like just as much as I am now, but to a negative degree, right? So I got very skinny to suit this model look, right? And then one day I just woke up and I was just looking at myself, almost had like this overnight epiphany. I was like, what am I doing? Like I want to be big. My body's wanting to be big because I'm having to starve myself to be skinny. So almost overnight, I just said, do you know what? Like in those photos you've seen, like 5-year transformation or whatever. Overnight, I was like, can I swear on it? Yeah. I was like, fuck this. I'm just
on, bro. Yeah.
I was like, fuck this. Like, I'm just gonna dedicate myself to getting massive. Like, I always loved training. And I was a PT before I went to uni, one-to-one PT. So I just started watching YouTubes every single day, bodybuilding, and then that became my new obsession. I just said to myself, at this time, I was a building surveyor, I was a junior quantity surveyor, and I just started eating loads and started packing on size, and I just gained size very quickly because it was like I was coming off the back of a show, right? Because I was so fucking underfed. And it was like muscle memory from this whole And then everyone around me was like, oh, you started taking gear. And actually, at the time, I wasn't. This was when I was about 25. So like, I haven't actually been bodybuilding properly for a very long time. So then when I was about 26, I started taking gear. So I did a test 300 milligrams and did that for a bit. And then I started getting coached by, Cam McKay. And I think we just did some primo and bits. And then what really turned the corner for me for my bodybuilding is when I moved here to Manchester.
Where were you
So
based?
I was gaining quite a bit of size and I was like in good shape, but I thought I was big right at the time because, in my hometown, there's not many bodybuilders, right? So I moved, it was like a very compulsive move for me. I just come out of like a very hard breakup and I was just a bit lost. I was working at a bank and I was like, but I'd left the bank, sorry, and I'd just left the bank, become a full-time online coach, and I was like, the possibilities are endless. So I was like, where's good? Where literally I was like, and within the month I decided I'm going to move to Manchester. No mates, no family, literally knew no one here whatsoever. Everyone's about 6-7 hours away. And I just wanted to be as far away from my old life where I was going out partying a bit, distracting myself from the course of bodybuilding and coaching. So I turned up here. It was mad, to be fair. I moved into the flat that I was moved into, and I was like, I knew I wanted to train at FLF. I'd seen like JP had trained there, I'd seen Cuba train there. Got into my flat, looked on my phone the next day, right, where's this gym? And just by luck, it's a 5-minute walk away. So that was just destined to be, right? And then the maddest thing was, I went into the gym. Obviously, I knew nobody, right? Said hello to a few people. Saw, Ryan Urkel? One of my mates, yeah. I saw him in the gym. I didn't know him, obviously. Went down to do cardio because our apartment had a gym, right? See him in there, and I was like, oh, you're right, mate. I've seen you in FLF. We started chatting. He's an online coach. I was like, oh, I'm an online coach. He had moved there the month before. I was like, I've moved there. All of a sudden, these lads from Ireland started moving into the building that was Oxygen, with the apartment block. So that summer, I went from knowing absolutely nobody. I spent about 4 or 5 months just knew no one, didn't speak to anyone. I was just bodybuilding, which was like perfect for me. I was just, I was just fully locking in. My business was going well. And then these lads from Ireland started coming into our building, all bodybuilders, all coaches. We all started becoming a very tight friend group. All of us that summer went on prep. We all lived in the same block of flats. We all trained at the same gym. It was like we were at university, but for games, right? Because we were all under one roof. We were all checking in together, like on a Saturday or something. We'd all walk to the gym at like 11. There was like 8 of us. It was honestly such a sick time. We've all kind of like, me and Jim obviously still very close. We're all good mates, but people have moved to different buildings and that. But anyway, that moment when I moved to Manchester is what really took my bodybuilding to a new level, because I was surrounded by big people who knew a lot more than me, who were much bigger than me. And I didn't even know, say, when I moved here, it would be 3 years ago now, I didn't even want to compete. I didn't know I wanted to compete. I was posing just in the changing rooms, and Darren Mack, my friend, was like, why don't you try and do a men's physique show? And I was like, yeah, I might do. Like, I'd just done a photo shoot prep, and like I was shredded, obviously, and I was just like, I did it in 12 weeks. I was eating out. I was like having off-plan meals, like going for dates and that, because I was like still new to Manchester and newly single, and I was like, I just want to get shredded for a photo shoot. I got shredded, and then they were all like, oh, why don't you try compete? And I was like, yeah, I might do. Did that off season, and then that was when I did my men's physique first debut season, which I did pretty good, unexpectedly, to be fair, for a first season. But yeah, and then ever since I moved here, I've just been a sponge. Like, I have no issue with asking questions at every opportunity. I just want to learn constantly, and I think that's what's made me progress so well, not only with my physique but with my coaching, because I'm constantly wanting to learn. Because I started it late, right? I feel like I'm playing catch up, not only with bodybuilding but with everything. So I'm just like I just have not stopped since I've got to Manchester. I've not been out of the country other than to compete. I have not taken time off at all, other than deloads if forced. Because another thing is, I just love what I'm doing here. I love my surroundings. I absolutely love my day-to-day life that is just Groundhog Day, being locked in bodybuilding. So to me, it's like I don't feel any negativity from just being like restricted and living that kind of monk lifestyle because I love it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Sound that?
It's cool, man. Where are you from originally?
Yeah. That's what I wanted to know.
Eastbourne, so near Brighton, down south.
Okay.
It's
Training
it's
there?
a nice place to grow up. Like it really is a nice place to grow up. Safe, you're by the sea, down it's like hills and that, but it's just kind of like it's kind of like a bit of a small town. There's not much of a bodybuilding scene there, so I was like, I always had lived there, and you kind of get a bit. I just felt like it's a bit like I just need to do something different, like get out of my comfort zone, right?
Yeah. Joe, I was waiting for you to say when you were telling about like your modelling days, your first cycle being Clen and fucking semaglutide.
Mate, no, I don't need to do that shit. So what? Clen though, I did do Clen actually before I took test.
Fucking do it.
Like,
Fucking do it.
Gwen's natural though, yeah?
Yeah, but this was like just before, right? And
Was that for the modelling days? You were just trying to hit a new
then,
weight or whatever.
God, it's so long ago, I can't remember, but I remember I took, I took Clen, and do you know what? When I was like a proper noob and I didn't, no, I think this was actually before I did the modelling, when I was actually training and I was, so technically I wasn't that because I took Clen, right? But like when I was a younger, like 21 at uni, I before I do anything right, I took Clen when I was in the off season because I thought it will allow me to eat more food and stay lean. Obviously, I knew fuck all right, but obviously after like a few weeks, I realised and did a research and realised that was just pure stupid.
Like,
It's mad. Like back then, like do you know what? It was when I was 17, 18, like everything was a mystery. Like I would sit on bodybuilding forums, like the bodybuilding misc, and just research creatines and pre-workouts for literal hours, thinking, "Right, that's the secret." Do you know what I mean? Like, if I get this new pre-workout, it's going to make me grow more. Like, I had, you just think everything's so important.
I miss having time to do that. You know what I mean? Like when you just have time to just literally watch YouTube video after YouTube video after YouTube video of different people and like seeing what they do to train and like I'd love to have that time again now. Like obviously I have time to still educate yourself, but not to that extent of just like completely immersing yourself in it when you've not got anything else to do.
it's because it's new. Like that's the thing when you're starting out, everything's cool when you know fuck all. Like I remember you Joe said about like creatine. There was a different I can't remember. Obviously you got creatine monohydrate, but there was some different form of creatine that I remember.
Creapure or something.
Yeah, it might have been, but it was something. I was like, this is the key. If I take 3 grams of this, I'm gonna be fucking jacked.
Yeah, taking creatine with grape juice, wasn't it? Makes it. It makes it like hit better.
I'm guessing, mate, because if obviously you're how old are you, Joe? You're 30, aren't you?
I'm 30, yeah.
Yeah. So if you were getting into it when you were 21, so like we got into it at the same sort of age, like same age. We got it at the same time. I'm a little bit younger. I'm 25, but I got into training when I was like 13, 14. So do you remember like the whole like 6-pack shortcuts, Mike Chang?
Yeah,
Athlete.
the Hodge twins. That like back then, like the influencers were like few and far between.
They were YouTubers. That was it.
Yeah, YouTubers. Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
And do you know what? I'm so glad that I didn't have social media then because God knows what I would have been posting, mate.
Yeah.
Like in my 17, thinking I'm massive in a stringer. Like, I probably felt bigger then than I do now. Like when you first build a bit of muscle, you're like walking around the gym like a tank. Imagine me looking at that kid now. Like, who's the kid think he is?
I think everyone's self-confidence peaks after like 2 years. Like,
literally. And now I've never felt smaller, even though I'm the biggest.
Like, if anyone's listening to this and you're in the first 2 years of training, enjoy it because it gets worse. Like you will just progressively get bigger and feel smaller and feel worse about your progress year on year on year. I mean, like Finn, for example. I'm surprised you've been training, bro. Natural bodybuilder. You've peaked after like 2 years anyway. So like,
like there's you'll get. I actually get photos that come up on my Instagram, and it's like 6 years ago, and I'm like, I'm fucking jacked. Like, what the fuck? I
Or
look,
like I look at photos like even 2 years ago, and at the time I thought I was big, like like posing in the F&F mirrors, and I'm like, mate, I look tragic. Like who? Why did no one tell me?
Why did all these boys that came in from Ireland not weren't honest with
Like
you
no,
and said,
why
Joe,
didn't
you look like
anyone
shit?
like my picture?
Funny that.
It
So
is
anyway,
mad though.
carrying on, Joe. I want to speak about your prep in men's physique. So, and then also more so get into the kind of difference between that and classic, because as I put on the story up earlier, I feel like if you would say to me, gun to my head, who's like top five people that have made like some of the nuttiest progress in the last like year to two, you definitely would be in that list of like people that have like significantly come on leaps and bounds. When it came to your men's physique prep, obviously you got an overall in your first show, and then you got, was it second in for the amateur Olympiad?
Second in Alicante in my class, yeah.
And then the week before that, you missed the trip to Italy because of your fucking passport.
Yeah, because my passport was expired. So
So give us a bit of a
that
run
was
through. So
mad
like,
stress.
how long was the prep? You were on stage about 100 kilos, weren't you?
So my prep, I
Yeah.
think my prep from that first regional was 9 weeks.
Fucking hell.
So bit different to my 27-week prep this one
Yeah.
this year. But that was an early show. Like that regional, like so I started obviously my prep, um, which is my first ever prep, and food was pretty high. Just moderate cardio, like 20, and then I think we maxed out at 40 minutes. Didn't bring T3 enough until like T3 and T4 until like 2 weeks out. Um, I just dropped fat very easy, and then I hadn't obviously competed before, and this show was coming up, and I was coming in very quickly, and I was working with Ross at the time, pro coach, and we were just like, should we just go into the show and just do see what just get some experience, and then we can go on to the bigger shows after, like being on stage. I was like, yeah, let's do it, and then obviously I won the overall, which was nuts because I didn't really know what to expect. I'd never been on stage before, um, but that it didn't really settle. I didn't even get an opportunity to like really enjoy it either, because as soon as I come off stage, we were like, right, pro qualifier next weekend. So I was like, right, straight back on it. Didn't really get to celebrate, and then obviously the passport situation, which was like a complete down. And then we went to Alicante, but Alicante was really good. Um, but yeah, very different styles of prep. Like obviously this one was a longer prep with no cardio. Like food stayed very high, and I grew a lot through that prep. I have started this off season the same weight as I started my prep this year.
Oh, exciting. So what are you weighing now? Is it like high
And
80s?
obviously that is me being starting the prep fat,
Yeah.
right? So it was like kind of like around 116, and I'm starting pretty much this off season now. I'm 118 now, but I was 116. I stepped on stage at 111 in the British finals kilo.
Sick. Awesome. Difference wise between the preps, obviously, other than time. Obviously, you worked with Ross for your last coach. We've got a question about your coaching situation. Um, I'll kind of get into that now. What was the main difference between Ross and Cuba when it came to, obviously, other than time?
Um, Kuba obviously just took a much longer approach.
Mm.
He stages it with loads of time. So at first I was a bit hesitant, because I was like, fucking hell, I've got to spend like 27 weeks on prep. But then when you get into it, you're like, honestly, the first half of that prep, it was just simply getting hungry again, because at the end of my off season, I absolutely hated food. Like I'd been pushing for 11 months with no pullback, right? Got a little bit of a pullback a month before prep, so I was literally throwing up. Every pre-workout meal, I'll just throw it up. Like I'll just push food so hard that like my digestion was gone. So like, the first half of prep was just a piece of piss, because I was like, just the appetite was coming, and I was like, oh, I just feel good. Like I feel normal again. Then the difference in approach was, yeah, just a longer approach, but not as rapid. So my training from the start of prep, honestly, till the end, never slipped. I lost a bit of strength with my pressing, But because the rate of loss was, slower, right, I was actually growing, and the gear was like the highest I've ever done as well. So to be completely transparent, so like I was definitely growing as well. And then basically my first regional, this classic prep, I was done with fat loss 2 weeks before that, right? So my fat loss was done. I was absolutely peeled. You'd seen glutes in. So we started bringing food up 2 weeks out. I wasn't doing any cardio anyway, so steps came right down and food came right like up. But we didn't do like a hard peak. Brought it up to like around maintenance, maybe in a slight surplus, and then just left it there the whole time. So rather than like forcing loads of food near the time of the show, potentially blowing the waist out, digestion issues, I was just done with fat loss very early because staged the prep very well, and then just brought the food up and then just kept it there. And then for the whole time I was competing, say I did those 3 shows. I did the regional, then the Milan show, which is a shit show, which I can go into, and then the British finals. For 6 weeks I was on high food, low steps, and I'm pretty damn sure I grew through that time, even though I was peeled, because I pretty much finished my prep at like 112, 113 kilos, and my glutes were in still, and they still are in. They're not. I'm obviously not as peeled and shredded, right? But my glutes are still in, and I'm 118 kilos. And the lowest I was on prep, this prep on classic prep, was 105. So definitely did some growing, 100% during that peaking process somehow, because my training was flying. I was really, really trying to hold back because I felt so good. I was so fresh, but I kept forgetting how lean I was.
Yeah.
And it was just a struggle rather than to try and train when I'm shredded. It was like trying to hold back because I felt so good.
Mate. I think that's very common. Like you get to a point
Yeah.
and it's like especially when you're eating more, you feel better short term. Like you get a bit of a boost. And I remember after my first show, similar with me, like in my first prep, where I like pretty much like reversed into my last 2 shows. And I remember like after like maybe a few days, you ride off the high of doing quite well at a show. And then I felt like trashed, and I was like, "What? I'm eating 4,000 calories." And it's like, "Yeah, but you're lean. Like you can't get away with it." I want to go into the details a little bit more of the sort of shows. But speaking, let's say if we're just skipping ahead, do you think the way that things have gone has put you in the position you're in now because the last like 6 to 8 weeks really were pretty relaxed, like in the sense of you built your food up, so you weren't in that sort of massive prep hole where you have to have like a 4 to 8 week recovery phase just to get training into it.
100%, mate.
Yeah.
I was actually talking to Jim, my training partner, about this, like, because me and him were kind of in a similar situation. We like kind of got fresh into the shows, and I was super fresh. Like, I was in the gym the next day after my show because I just didn't feel like I was battered. Like I felt very fresh, and obviously, you still can't just go into the gym and absolutely send it. But I didn't need this long recovery phase. Like my mind wasn't tainted. Like I didn't have this like real slump afterwards. Food was fine. Like obviously we're all at the end of prep like crazy food focus, right? But because I hated food to the point I was throwing up nearly every day, when I was hungry and food focused, I was like, this is nice. Like, I'm enjoying my food. It's a nice feeling to me. So yeah, when I come up, like you said, to answer your question, yeah, like why I've done a decent bit of growing post show is because I was fresh for like 6 weeks. So it's kind of, even though I'm like on low gear, I'm growing nicely. Like I'm on 300 tests, 100 prima. And to be honest, like I'm happy just there. Like I feel good and I'm growing nicely. And I've got a cap. Do you know what I'm saying? I can't run gear. If I run gear too high, I'll probably just outgrow my cap, and then I've got to sacrifice muscle.
What is your cap? Just out of curiosity.
111.6.
Oh yeah, so you're not that far off.
So on the day of the British finals, my last show where I think I looked my best, I was 111 when they weighed me in. But that was after filling for 6 weeks. And I had food in me, and I didn't have to like cut water or food on the day. So, technically speaking, I could definitely suck down. I could gain a good, proper long off season amount of tissue, and then just play it smart on the day or whatever.
Cool. So getting into the shows, mate. First show, run us through. Give us a little bit of a recap. How did you do? You got first, didn't you?
First in my class, yeah. Which I was actually disappointed with because I wanted to win the overall. Like, I think that's the the issue with winning overall in your first show, like that's the standard. But I was happy though. Do you know what? Like with everything that happened this season, when I started my prep, I said to myself, because it was my first, this is my first classic season, obviously moving from men's physique to classic. I said to myself, if I can get a class win, I'll be buzzing. Like I'll see the prep as a success. Got that in my first show, but then obviously, you know, the goalpost moves, and you're like, right, what's next? What's next? But then when I actually recap and think back, I said that to myself, and I was like, I can't moan really, because that's what I said at the beginning. So, anyways, yeah. So got first in my class, which I was happy about. Main things to take away from that is I was very conditioned. That was the leanest I was, but I needed more fullness, and that was a goal moving into the next shows. And also my posing was a bit shit. First time on stage as a classic, you know, and I was just posing very hard, like a bit shaky. Like, you know, when I'm hitting my shots, I'm like holding it super hard. Whereas, you know, in classic you want it to be nice and flowy, right? That was probably just nerves as well. And then, what do you want? Shall I talk about the Milan show?
Who won the overall in that show? In the
Ron.
Ron Forrest, Ron.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
he was good. He was in Milan as well when I was there.
yeah. I was trying to remember who was in the overall lineup, and I thought it was him. I didn't know if that was a different show, but I know obviously the other two were pro qualifiers. So if he had won the overall, he would have.
Yeah, and then the other one in the overall, he was in Milan as well,
Okay.
which
So what, you
was
went?
pretty
So
cool.
Milan, the shit show.
Us English lads being backstage, it was nice. We were just chilling together.
That's nice. So anyway, mate, into Milan, the shit show, as you said.
Oh,
What happened?
mate, this is some story, honestly. When at the time, I was like, oh, I'll go through it anyway. So it's like I try not to think about it. My dad was talking to me about it the other day. I was like, just don't talk to me about it. It just traumatizes
Fuck
me.
off, Dad. Leave me alone, Dad. Fuck off.
Yeah. So get obviously to the airport. Like now, I'm not going to start moaning about delayed flights. That's like light work, right? We all go through delayed flights, but it's just the first thing, right? Got all my food with me, so it's no issue. Delayed flight. I'm sat in the airport for like 4 hours, so you know it's just even though I'm prepared, it's just bits of stress. So this was on the Thursday, and I'm competing on the Saturday. So Thursday, delayed flights, like in the airport for 4 hours. Right, get to the Airbnb after you know a long ass day of traveling. Airbnb, you need to be on your phone. You use an app to get in, right? And I didn't have any signal, so we're stuck outside the Airbnb for like half an hour. And the funniest thing was, I was desperate for a piss, and I had to just go down to the end in a garden where people were just sat out. Like, have you ever needed a piss so bad where you're like, I am literally going to piss myself if I don't
Yeah, yeah.
just do it somewhere?
Mate,
And I
prep is the
ran
worst.
down to the end in a garden, and there was literally kids playing in this playground, like where I could actually see, but I had to just hide away. So I was like, I either do it here, or I do it in the corridor outside my Airbnb, right? So you know, it's just stress. Like you don't need this stress like 2 days out, right? Anyways, I managed to like hold my phone up against the wall and get the Wi-Fi from inside eventually. So we're like half an hour waiting outside. I get inside to the Airbnb. They haven't got a microwave. They said they did. Boiler doesn't work. Cold showers, right? But that's fine, right? I don't mind that stuff. I'm pretty hardy. I can sleep literally anywhere. The main issue was we get to the show. So first of all, there's two Crown Plazas, right? One is at a hotel like 30 minutes away. The other's in 20, 30 minutes away the other way. I'm obviously one day out, and I just click the first Crown Plaza, go to the wrong event, right? I then got to get an hour Uber to the proper event. Okay, now, this is where it gets bad. Get into the queue for the registration, right? And it's just like a corridor. I'm like, oh, light work. This is my dumbass fault, right? This is where Kuba has put on a story like, never leave your house, never leave the house without a meal, and tag me. Because I brought one meal with me, because I've never been to a registration where you're there for more than like an hour. And I'd just eaten when I left. Get there, and I'm just looking at this queue. I'm like, oh, that's fucking cushy. Like, I said to my dad, go see how long it is. My dad was like, it's long, right? I get in the queue, and for 5 minutes, it doesn't move. So I'm like, how long is this going to take? Bro, I was in that queue for 3 hours for the registration, stood up. So this is not what you want when you're 1 day out, right? You want to be off your feet, right? Get to the front of the queue after 3 hours, not eating, 1 day out, and they weigh me in, measure me in height-wise, and I'm a centimetre taller than when I was at my regional. Sorry, centimetre shorter than when I was at my regional, so I'm overweight. Probably because I've been stood up for 3 hours, and the airport scenario. So I was like, what the fuck do I do then? So I was like, obviously, just queued up for 3 hours, get out of the queue, ring in Cuba, and he was like, right, go have a double espresso, like try and have a shit. Bro, I haven't been eating, obviously, because I didn't bring enough food with me, so I don't need a shit. I'm trying, it's not happening. So he was like, do they have a hot shower there? So you can just stand in a hot shower for like half an hour and just try and sweat, just anything. And I asked the woman, she was like, we have a sauna. I was like, fucking too right. So got up in this room, right, and there's this tiny little box. It's like this, a sauna. Get in there, fully clothed. There's me and this other lad, and he's in my class as well. Just randomly, classic, class D. Sat there next to him like this, fully clothed, just dripping in sweat, like fully clothed, my tracksuit on. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing, mate? Like, this is the least fucking optimal thing. 1 day out.
So unhealthy in it, bodybuilding.
Literally, mate. And obviously I was already dehydrated because I was in the back of my mind, I was like, imagine I get there and they hype me in wrong. Like, I need to be a bit careful with food and water. So I already wasn't properly hydrated, didn't have enough food in me. And I was just sat in there like full of fucking orals and gear and just pure shredded, like blood pressure probably just through the roof. And I just sat there like, and I had to sit in there because I Googled it and it said, because I was like a kilogram over. They were like, I think I Googled it on my phone and it was like, you have to sit in the sauna for an hour to lose a kilogram of water weight. So, mate, I was sat in there for, I think, 30 minutes fully clothed. Bro, and I was like, literally, like, seeing stars. And I was just in my head, like, do you know what I was thinking about? It sounds really cringe, but I was like, imagine, like, there was like a film crew and you're in a movie. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're the main character. Like, when you watch like boxing films, and I was like, that was the only way I was getting through it. I was like, if I get out, I'm a fucking pussy. Like, imagine I don't make weight. I've come all this way. Like, just stick it out because I was like, just getting well famed. Anyway, come out and there's and there's a scales in the gym. Stand on the scales and I'm under by like 0.1. So I was like, fuck, right. I'm drenched in sweat, my whole tracksuit. It's like someone had like thrown a bucket of water over me. My hair is all down here like this. My eyes are all bloodshot, face all sucked in, right? And I walk down and I get to the back of the queue and I'm like, mate, am I fuck queuing up again? Like, I am drenched in sweat. I'm about to pass out. So I just like stormed to the front of the queue and I said, look, mate, just fucking measure me again because I've just been sat in the sauna for half an hour. And he was like, all right, all right. Bro, measures my height, and my height is the correct height.
It's gone up.
It's gone up. I don't know whether the sauna done that or he did it wrong. And I was like, are you fucking taking a piss? But obviously I was relieved because obviously I got in, right? So signs me off, great. Goes, right, there's the queue over there to book your spray tan for the next day. I was like, what? Another queue, an hour spent in that queue. Didn't have food with me. I obviously was drinking water, right? And the only thing available at the show for food was like these cheese and ham baguettes. And I sent a picture to Cooper. I was like, I wasn't obviously going to eat it, but I said to him, like, I'm about to eat this, bro. Like, calm it up. And he was like, you voice note me, like, don't you fucking dare eat that. So honestly, bro, and then like it got to about 4 p.m. and we finally got it all sorted. Get back to the Airbnb. I just smashed all my sleep supplements, like, took everything possible to bring the cortisol down. I just laid in my bed and I did get all my food in for the rest of the day, like 4,000 calories, just, taking it steady, eating it super slow, got all my water in. Woke up the next day, like, actually, I was like, how have I pulled this off? Because it actually looked pretty fucking decent. Waist was a bit blown, that was the only thing. Like, when I look at my stage photos for Milan, I'm like, the waist is a bit big. But the second problem was the day of the show as well, like, you go backstage and they're like, right, you're due to be on at say 2-3 p.m. Bro, I didn't go on stage till 7 p.m. because there's so many people in each class. Like, it was just like ridiculous. Like, trying to trying to balance like how much food to eat, how much water to drink. It was just very difficult, mate. So yeah, to even get on stage and decently like my look, I was like, I'm just glad that I got first call outs, mate, because honestly, if I did all that, I spent all the money to go there, went through all that shit, and I did not get first call outs, mate, I probably would have topped myself. I'm not even gonna lie, like, it was just so mentally draining. I got back to mine here, like when we come back, like after the show, like I was just sat there, like I was with my dad, right, and I was just sat there, and I was like, what's just happened? Like, I'm so drained, I can't even think straight. So I got back to my flat, literally I got back the next day at about midday, didn't even eat off plan. Like, I just got straight back to plan. Next day, I was like, I'm going to let myself, for the rest of this day, feel sorry for myself. Notes about the flat, watched TV, just ate my normal food, and then next day I was back in the gym. I was like, I need to redeem myself here. And then this is where I realised how bad of a negative effect like killing yourself in the gym has on your physique when you're this lean, because I sent it for like 4 days because I had all these demons to release, right? And then my body was just so inflamed. My face went all, like my face looked like it did now. It was like full of water from when you're peeled to this. So yeah, I was like, all right, I need to pull it back now. Yeah, then we pulled it back for the British finals, which I think was my best look.
It's funny that, because like that kind of story, that should be a one-off, but it's not. Like that happens a lot. You know what I mean? Like not to that,
Literally,
maybe not to that extent, but like how many times have we heard a similar kind of story, like about the queue was fucking ages? Like the amount of times that I'll have a
mate.
client like, "Oh mate, I'm in the queue." I'm like, "Get out! You don't need to be in the queue. Like just lay down, and then when the queue's done, just go at the end." You know what I mean? Like, but you don't think of that when you're one day out. You think I've got to be in this queue. But like, if you'd have literally just found somewhere to chill and gone, "Dad, will you just check every half an hour and see if it's like getting quieter, and then just go when it's dead?" You know what I mean? Like if
It's
you had an
lessons
idea, like,
learned, mate. Like
but
the
you don't.
next time,
Yeah, you
what I'll
don't
do
think
is I'll
about
just bring all my food and I'll just sit
that.
there and, yeah,
Yeah.
like you say, wait. But the problem was with Milan, right? In a better situation, I would have just sent my dad home to get food and come back. Problem is with Milan, mate, every Uber is like €30 no matter where you go because it's chock a block. And the drive from our Airbnb to the place was like 30, 35 minutes. So I was like, if I send him away, he's gone for 35 minutes making my food. He probably won't be back for an hour and a half. Then
Yeah.
I've got to go back, and it's like €100 in an Uber. So I was like, oh, it's
Stuff
just
like
very
that,
difficult,
like
mate. Like it's honestly, I'll do a show in Milan again if I have to, because it's proper tricky to navigate. The
yeah.
one in Alicante was brilliant. When I was in Alicante, right, it was like I was on holiday, but I was just on prep and I was competing. It was a sick time, lovely place, really enjoyed it. Whereas Milan, it was like I got there and from start to finish, it was mentally challenging. Like on the go, everything going wrong, and I was like, I got home and I was like, the whole point of that trip, I didn't go there to win. Like, obviously, you go do a pro qualify for the opportunity of turning pro, but I wasn't expecting that. I just wanted to go and have fun and just enjoy it, like competing abroad. I come home and I was like, there is not a moment of that trip where I actually thought this is sick. Not one.
I've heard that
So
quite a
that's
bit
why I was gutted.
when people compete abroad. Like, because I think you do go with the mentality of you going on holiday, but it's not. You know what I mean? It's not a
No.
holiday. Like, but if you'd have, let's say, for example, like if you hadn't have had that experience and if you had have won, mate, you'd be like, oh, Milan's the best place ever. You know what I mean?
100%,
Milan's
mate.
honestly, I love Milan.
And do you know what? It wasn't that I didn't win at all. It was just that
No, but it's
it
like the
didn't go.
experience. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And also now when I look back, right, I think I always try and like take something from any negative experience that happens to me. I just think, right, what have I learned from there? Everything that went wrong, I know how to, navigate it better. And also, every show that I do now will be easier than that, no matter what. I got on stage after all that shit that happened to me, and I still look half decent. I kept my head cool, didn't lose my shit, maybe a couple of times to my dad, but like any show after that, like the British finals after that, I was like, this is a piece of piss. Like,
that'll
do
help
you know
with
what I mean?
clients as well. Like, because you've got that experience now. Like, the amount of
Mm,
shows that me and Reese will have been to, and like you learn a little bit from every single one. You learn about which
yeah.
federation tells you that it's this time, but it's not that time. You learn about every federation, how they glaze and the tannin. You go, actually, you probably need a bit more. Go and ask for a second coat. Like, every single show you learn from, and like whether you're competing or whether you're a coach. So like you say, like that's fucking shit that you went through all that, and it's like fucking hell. Like, at the time as well, when you're one day out, like mate, I'd have lost my head. But then you look back at it now and you go, oh, actually, like yeah, that was all a fucking nightmare, but it won't happen again because I've learned from it, and it probably won't happen to my clients because I'll make sure that they're prepared for if something like that does happen.
Yeah. And it's a story, isn't it? It's a
Yeah.
story to tell on a podcast. So when it was happening, mate, like when I was walking past all these people, like storming to the front, I was even aware at the time, like this is nuts. Like just because everyone else was just normal, like fresh clothing, like nice tracksuits and that. But the worst thing was, mate, after obviously I didn't even mention this, like after I'd actually checked in, standing in that next queue for an hour, sopping with sweat. Like everyone else is like fresh, and I'm just stood there. Felt like such a fucking weirdo. Like stood off, like they didn't know I was in a sauna. Like, they just think I'm stood there just pissing with sweat for no reason.
You spilled
Oh
over,
my
mate.
god!
Your coach told you to take like 240 micrograms of
Yeah, literally.
That's it. You just
Oh
like,
man,
gotta flush it out, bro. Awful.
it was
So I
actually mental.
wanted to go into detail before the British finals, your last show. Training wise, you mentioned training a fair bit. Like obviously you progressed a good amount within the prep, and you definitely, I definitely would say you put on a good amount of tissue. What was your training like? What take us through? What was your split? Like what was your usual like volume? What was your, were you doing RAR? Like how was your training through the back end of that prep when like the going got tough?
So my split was push, pull. This is what it was for the whole of the off season as well, and then through prep. Push, pull, rest, legs. This first leg is quad dominant. Rest. Then upper, lower, which was like a hamstring glute day. Rest. Now this built my lower massively. Like obviously my stage weight for my men's physique when I was filled was 98 kilos. And that wasn't even as lean as I was this year, where I was filled at like 110. Um, so, I built a lot of tissue, but obviously, a lot in the legs, which holds a lot of weight, right? So that, was a massive reason why I put on so much tissue because that second lower day like comes around 3 days after the other day. It was me and Jim when we were training, like it was such a heavy day as well. It was like hip hinges, single leg press, glute bridge, loads of shit, decent bit of volume as well. And we were like, as hard as this is, it's also like builds a good athlete. Sessions like that, and going like you touched on, you asked me what was my training like towards the end of prep. Nothing really changed. We brought down volume from say RDL from 2 sets to one, or like the hack squat would go down to 1 set, pivot would go down to one. Then in those last 6 weeks, I was trying to do like 1 to 2 rep in reserve. So Kuba, this was like the main back and forth with me and Kuba. Like he would be saying, like, do not send your sets because it's very hard. Like as you two know, like we're all about training hard, and that's what we love. Like I'm sure both of you are the same. Like I fell in love with training hard before I fell in love with wanting to compete in bodybuilding. So like trying to hold yourself back is very, very actually difficult. So that was the main challenge, just trying to do like 1 to 2 in reserve. I think that actually enabled me to grow because I was actually recovering. So yeah, now my split's a bit different.
Fair enough. So when you said like RAR and stuff, what was your let's say for example 4 weeks out, and I don't want to know exactly, but what was your total workload like volume wise? Because and obviously you're doing RAR, that's going to be some like fatigue management. Were you doing 6 sets, 10 sets, 12 sets? Like I felt like a lot of people
Um,
were you was it like minimal but just real high quality work?
so for what workout? So say for example, push would do like 2 lateral, 2 incline press, 2 incline. Yeah, 10, 12 sets probably.
Okay, that's cool.
Um, yeah, honestly, I didn't really drop down to really low, but yeah, like 2 sets across the board is normal,
Hmm.
pretty much for everything. And then a couple of the isolations like lateral raise work, arm work, I would just continue smashing them with like 3 sets. And then our big compounds like the RDLs and the hack and stuff like that would be 1 set. But the main thing was just making it, like you say, high quality. Just I was just trying to make it as hard as possible. And also at the beginning of the prep, I had a knee injury as well, which is very frustrating. I touched on that on my Instagram, but like, yeah, I pretty much went from squatting like I did one time I did 6 plates per side on the Cybex, and I was just doing like very regularly doing 5+ plates a side to none. I could not even squat because my knee hurt so badly. So I had to take like 6 weeks off squatting, and then reintroduce the Cybex back in at like 3 plates. Super slow, like very, very slow, and like pausing in the hole. And then just worked it back up to now where I'm just finished prep, like back at 4 plates, which is nothing crazy. But during that time, my legs have grown. Even though I'm squatting less weight, like just by making it very, very difficult. And during a prep as well, they still grew, which I'm very happy about. So I'm just taking those lessons. If anything, that knee injury has benefited me because it's, made me take more pride in my control with my leg work. And I know now, everyone's different, right? But I know when looking at my leg progression that I respond well to like a bit lighter but higher rep and slow control shit with the legs.
Oh. I don't know if you heard that
Yeah,
voice. I think Sinai's just
rage
dropped
quit.
something. Did you hear that?
Yeah, is it Bean?
Yeah.
I don't know. Beans just jumped. Let me just go check the cat's still alive.
Oh, I thought that was her on Call of Duty.
Give me a moment. I need to make sure the bean is still alive.
So, Joe, with you said obviously with Ross, like it was like a 9-week prep. Was, for example, like, do you think now, and like, with Jim, would he wouldn't have done that? Did he do that with Jim? Was it like a 9-week prep with Jim? Or was that just based on like your starting point and stuff? Like, if he'd have worked with you for longer, maybe would you have started with more time? What do you think?
It wasn't. It didn't set out to be a 9-week prep. That's the thing.
It was just like a.
It wasn't like we did this rapid fat loss protocol. Like I was still on like 4,000 calories,
Yeah,
like 30, maximum 30 minutes of cardio, and then I kind of was just getting lean pretty quick. So we were like, oh, that shows in 2 weeks. We just push it on a bit. So that was kind of what happened. And then, like you said, with Jim, Jim ducked into the early show as well.
Yeah. When
But,
you,
yeah, it wasn't really the plan.
in regards to like your peaking for the shows last year, like you say, you kind of like reversed into them. So like, did you actually run a peak, or were you literally just cruising into it and like, well, I'm pretty much full every day, like, or did you
Do you
actually?
mean this year for the
Yeah,
classic?
yeah.
Yeah.
Or did you actually
Pretty much reversed into it, like you said. So I was finished. I remember I went to roller room, the Ultraflex. It was like 2 weeks before the regional, and I was at my leanest. And we just put Winstrol in that day as well. And I like got a sick pump, and I took my clothes off, and I was like, that was the first time I was like, holy fuck, like this is actually nutty. Do you know what I mean? Like I never really appreciated how lean I was until kind of that day, because the lighting in FLF is shit as well. So like when I was in the Ultraflex lighting, I was like, oh my days. So yeah, from that day we just brought food up like to around maintenance, just reversed into it. And like my food, we didn't do like I did a mock peak like 2 weeks before this, and it was like 6,000 calories, like loads of food. And I responded pretty well, but that was for like 3 days. Whereas this, I was like ready 2 weeks out. So his ideology was like, well, we don't need to run this like super high food. Just reverse diet you up and just get you nice and fresh and just hold that look. So we were just bringing it up until we got to a point where we're like, right, the waist is ridiculously tight, the condition is nasty, and we're where you want fullness wise. And then we just rode into the show, and like my food did not change that week.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, because
It
that
just dropped volume.
will do that in terms of like reversing in, but then still run a bit of a peak in terms of like you can be a bit fuller. So we're like, yeah, we'll reverse in, you're fresh, but we can actually peak. But so with that,
Yeah, my
like,
food was at like 4,500 calories
yes,
for like 2 weeks. So it wasn't loads, but it was for a long period of time. And I had like literally fuck all steps and no cardio for that whole 2 weeks. So I was just getting fresher and fresher. And then I arguably was like to Kuba, I was like, I'd like to be fuller like for these next shows. Like when I'm looking at my photos like at the regional, I'm like, yeah, I'm skinned out, but I look like I don't know. My arms look skinny, like whatever. So me personally, I know exactly when I'm flat because my lats just lack, like, and my arms, the two areas that need work the most, like your weakest body part always just looks the flattest, doesn't it? So then yeah, we just pushed it on a little bit more food. But honestly, the food did not change much. Actually, I'll correct myself. We didn't push food on. From that first show till the British finals, the food stayed the same, but it was just more time spent freshening up. So it was like 6 weeks at like pretty much just a slight surplus. And obviously I had a bit of an off plan after the Milan show, and then yeah, just rode in. It
What
was
do
a
you
proper nice experience, to be honest.
And stop asking natty questions. Joe, what gear did you take, bro? What was the difference? Oh my god, come on, we need to know.
No, I wanted to ask like on that show day, like you say on the Milan show day, because you end up being on stage a lot later. What did you do food wise? Like obviously,
Yeah, so
the people
it was like
good to know.
pretty much what we ran was, and this was for all the shows really, like the peaking foods were like baby rice, like or jasmine rice, but just made with super low volume. Um, so like literally at the bottom of the bowl, it would be like this, like a tiny, like 2 inches, but it would be like 150 carb, like all the raisins, like honey, and it was the densest thing ever. And I just pretty much staggered that up until, so I went on stage about 6, and I think I had 3 of those type meals, right? I didn't even know what the macros and calories were. I was just literally following instructions on WhatsApp. I would imagine it was probably around like I found my best look to be around 2 meals in and about 2-3 liters in. My first look, I'm very flat, and in the evening my midsection starts to distend. So like that kind of, we were trying to hold that, but the problem was it was very hot there and sweaty. So I was like having to keep hydrating. I was taking pics for Kuba, and I was like, "You're looking dehydrated. You're looking dehydrated." So I was like, kept drinking water, and then I just like the stomach just started to distend a little bit. So that was the problem, the water with the Milan show. Whereas like the other shows, the regional and the British finals, I had only like 2 liters of water in, and that's where I looked my best. Bit of water in to fill me up, but not too much.
Yeah, cool. I thought you were going to say that you use dates.
No. Well, yeah, same shit, really, isn't it?
You like dates?
I've had them, yeah. I don't use them though. Like, eat them all the
Finn is
time.
obsessed with dates, mate. Like to the
It's like
point where
they're the same as raisins, aren't they? Just bigger versions.
Yeah,
this
completely
is an
different.
insult. I feel like we could title this like, I don't know, how to gain 12 kilos of tissue in one off season. Really, I think that'd be quite cool.
Do you know what it is with? There's no real like. I was thinking about this because obviously, yeah, I think this is my first podcast I've been on. To be fair, actually, no, I went on one like 2 years ago. But I was like, "What questions are you going to ask me?" And they're like, "Oh, how do you gain 12 kilograms?" There's there's nothing. There's no secret. It's just the same shit as you're doing. It's just being super consistent.
Just way better than you, all right, Reese? I'm just
No,
so.
no, no, no. We're all doing it. It's just never ever.
Boys, I also gained similar weight, you know, and I'm
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like we're all doing it. Like
Joe,
there's
I'm
no,
way smaller than you, and my stage weight was
bro. I
basically the
didn't
same.
count
So
you out. I'm just
I
saying.
was
Like,
like 5 years younger, guys. Come on, give me a bit of time. By 30, I'm gonna fucking smoke, Joe. Jesus Christ, I'll be a pro by 30. That's for sure.
Classic though. He won't be classic.
No,
yeah,
not
but
classic.
extra,
I'm
bro.
fucking. I'm heavier. Joe's talking about his weight cap. Joe, I was 3 kilos off my classic weight cap. No, sorry, I was a kilo off my classic weight cap before the bump up as a junior first time in men's physique. So
Bro, it's not a
respect.
competition.
Hmm?
It's not a competition, bro.
No, no, mate. I'm only joking. I'm only joking. I'm only joking. But yeah, anyway, that's what we can title it. And to be fair, as you said, like it is literally. I think the amount of times people ask the questions, it is literally just the consistency element. Like
Yeah,
I
all
can't, and
it
also
is.
I think mentality is a big role. Like I said to Finn earlier, I think it'd be a good vibe with you because I feel like we're all quite similar in a certain way of
Yeah,
the modern way of bodybuilding is going to be. Everyone's being so much fatigue management, this that. When in reality, it's
yeah.
just hard, heavy training and being consistent with it.
And I think with the building of tissue, and not only that, retaining tissue on prep,
Yeah.
it's the training. Is everything comes down to the training. Like that is the foundation. Like all the way through prep, I did not take my foot off the gas for training unless we had to do a deload, right? But like, so you see so many people, you like gain tons of tissue in the off season, they look massive, and then they just fade away through prep because
Yeah.
they just don't, they can't turn it on here. And I think that's the same with the off season. It's just getting into the gym no matter what and just tearing it up and just trying to make the shit harder. And it's not only that, just like the main thing that I've learned this past off season, and I've learned a lot through prep, even more so how to do this, is just perfecting your day. Like your day from start to finish, I just try and optimize it as much as possible around my training performance. Like luckily, I live on my own. I've no girlfriend, no family here. Not that that's luckily, but I
Lonely,
literally am on
right?
my
I'm
own
lonely, but
every
it makes me
single, yeah,
lonely.
literally I'm on my own every single day, and I
Phil,
conduct
take
my
notes.
business. I conduct my business exactly the way I want. I take food breaks. I eat exactly when I want. I go to bed exactly when I want. My clients, I have strict boundaries of like, when I turn my phone off and sleep. So like for me right now, other than like literally not working, I don't think there's a single thing that could possibly be improved in regards to like building muscle, because there's just nothing that I can really improve other than just having better genetics or taking more gear.
Yeah, which I mean, we can only do one of those, so we might as well take some.
Yeah.
Right, we'll get into a few questions, mate. I know it's probably your bedtime soon, isn't it? So we'll wrap it up shortly.
Bro, I'd be in bed right now.
Okay, cool. We'll literally go through a few
But
questions. Right.
it's fine,
I
bro.
said, I said earlier, I was like, I know you go to sleep pretty early, so we'll go through this. So, first question I got, very, very topical question. Joe, thoughts on Yemi's comments regarding the Beyond the Stage post? Have you seen it?
What common sense?
Have you not seen it? Finn, have you seen it?
Oh, the Michael DeBull?
Yeah. Finn, have you not seen it?
I saw the post, but I haven't read it.
Yeah, it was basically, well, I'll tell you actually. One of my clients, I won't mention who, put up a screenshot of it and sent it to me, and he put like the Yemi on Michael de Bull, and it's like he changed the words to like I think he's gay and got a small penis, and he was like, "Yo, mad of Yemi to say this about Michael de Bull being gay and got a small cock." And I was just like, "What the fuck?" But yeah, basically, been like Yemi's called out Michael de Bull, saying he's got better structure, he can pose better, and
I
then
think he just said he would expose him, didn't he? He said he's got his structure and
yeah.
posing stamina would expose him.
Which I actually
Which,
don't think is
bro,
incorrect.
Yemi's posing is next level. I can't even lie. Like when I see him on stage, it's like so composed, and it's like he's barely even posing. Do you know what I mean?
Mm,
Like when it's the complete polar opposite to me. Like I'm literally trying my hardest, but it's just practice and experience. But
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah. Either
I
way,
don't know.
yeah.
I'm not
Michael
commenting.
commented. People got likes and stuff, and like it was a bit of a. People were calling out Yemi. I think what Yemi said was sound. Yemi's not saying I'm bigger than him. Like Yemi's not saying I'm
You
a
don't know
fucking.
the context. What was that quote taken from?
I
Anyway?
don't know. I think that Beyond the Stage guy, Suki or whatever. I think
Oh,
he
was
does.
it a podcast? Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he does podcasts, and then if you say anything that's slightly like outrageous, he's like, "Here we go, yeah,
Yeah.
clip it."
He's asked me to
I'm
go on.
sure it wasn't like him saying like I don't know. I don't know. It's probably just taken out of context, and it's good for drama, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
probably good for Beyond the Stage and good for Yemi for
yeah, exactly. Opinions on science-based training. That's a bit of a long one.
I like science-based training. I don't know. The thing is, like people, this is the problem with today's lifting like generation. Like there's these camps. Like you don't have to be meathead, old school, like no control with anything, all science based, optimal with no intensity. It's like, bro, you can do them both. That's exactly what I do, and that's what you should strive to do. Lift with intensity, hard work ethic, but also for me, I absolutely love bodybuilding, and I love gaining knowledge about lifting and like educating my clients. And why wouldn't I want to, do things the best way possible, right? But that doesn't mean that you have to train like a fucking pussy. Like there's a middle ground. So like I would say I'm somewhat of a science-based lifter because I like optimizing things and setting things up correctly and taking my time, like getting things bang on, but then sending it, right? So
Yeah, it definitely
yeah,
doesn't have to be one or the other. Like I'll have clients that
literally.
like, oh, I did a bit of a lighter set, and I'm like, yeah, you can still get like a 15, 20 rep and it'd be fucking brutal. Like sometimes we feel way
They're
harder,
harder, bro.
heavier set. Yeah, so there's
Mate,
nothing.
my opinion is like when you do a set super slow, super hard with controller, that's hard. Like try to
Just slow
compose
it.
yourself doing that. I literally put a post up earlier about like managing pain. Like when you're doing like a 2 minute set on a leg press or a hack squat, it's like, bro, a 4 rep max on a fucking hack squat is a piece of piss. It's over in 20 seconds. Like trying to compose yourself on a 15 rep on a hack, mate, that's hard.
I think
But
we need to there should be a
it's
movement.
both. You do them both, right?
Yeah. I think there should be a movement of just train hard. That's it. Just train hard.
Literally.
Whatever you perceive as hard, just do that, and you'll probably grow. And just the next session, train a bit harder, and just keep doing that.
But like, there's also this, like, if you try and optimize things and like, you know, get too complicated, it's like, oh, like, I don't know, you're like shunned. You're like, oh, optimal, bro. It's like, maybe I'll just enjoy learning about training. Like, to me, that's fun. Like, some people don't. And I'm not saying you dumbass. Like, why don't you start learning? But it's like, bro, everyone has their own passions, and I just enjoy doing that, and you enjoy doing that. You don't. For some reason, there has to be this like dig, like this camps and wars. It's like, bro, just let yourself train how you want to train, and then just let everyone else train how they want to train.
Do you think, Joe, that was because you got into it before Instagram, social media, and shit, where you speak to a big dude in the gym and he goes, "Oh yeah, try this," and you try it and you go, "Oh, that's shit," or "No, that feels really good," because that's where I got my training from, just trying stuff in the gym.
Literally trying every exercise, like every workout be different. You're like, oh, I've seen this on YouTube. I'll try this drop set. This, you know, it's just trying things. What feels good for you?
Fair enough. Right, Finn, have you got any questions, or I've got one more to end it on that's decent.
I got a question from Oshin from the gym mate.
Oh God.
Nah, it's not bad. What is the best and worst thing about training at FLF?
Best thing. I mean, there's lots of good things, to be fair. Great kit, and also nice, friendly atmosphere. By that, I mean, it's a small community of people that go there, and we all chat and we all say hello to each other. It's very unhostile, right? I feel like sometimes when you go to other gyms, like been to a few others, and amazing kit, amazing atmosphere, but everyone's a bit like, you know, sussing you out, you know, like everyone's a bit of competition. Whereas at FLF, everyone's really friendly. And it's like, obviously, when I went there, I didn't know anyone. Like, everyone come up to you and introduce themselves to me, like, oh, you're right, you're new here, because there's not actually that many people that go there. Worst thing is it's a PT gym. So that's what it used to be. Like, you could only train there if you got personal train. It's now open to members. So there's a lot of PTs there, and I like them all. They're all sound, but they always try and jump in on your kit. Like, if I'm doing if you're doing, like, say for example, and I have to, like, I've got the confidence now, like, to, and know them well enough to, I'll either let them if it's something that I don't mind them jumping in, or actually saying no. Like the other day we were on the pivot press, and it was loaded up with like 8 aside 25s, and someone came over with this client who was like 60 kilos, pissed and went through, and was like, oh, do you mind jumping in? I was like, nah, mate, like, I don't want to be waiting around and taking plates off. So that is the only annoying thing, but honestly, that is so minor. And yeah, that is pretty fucking annoying, though, to be fair.
With me and Finn, when we trained there, I noticed that. Like, I knew a few, I think a few of the PTs might have known me, and in between every set, I had like a few guys just come up and ask me something, or mention something, or like say something about an exercise, and I was like, yeah, sound. I was like, put my headphones in. I kind of just want to train at this point.
That's all right, them chatting to you, but when they're trying to jump in, it's,
Yeah.
but it's when you're on. Do you know what the most annoying thing is, right? I hope none of them are watching this, because I do actually like them all. But it's like when you've got a client who is an utter noob, like literally look like I've never been in the gym before, and they're trying to use a piece of prime when there's other normal, just like normal kit available. It's like, you don't need to use that piece of prime with like resistance profiles with someone who doesn't even know what the hell that is. Like, just go use the normal brand of kit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't
And
start
then
going around.
Austin also asked, if you could punch, this is a perfect time. If you could punch one person at FLF, who would it be?
Oh, I'm not going to start saying that.
Oh no, friend.
Oh, I'll tell you who, actually, because he won't see it. It's the fucking cleaner who does my head in. Always in the way, bro.
Oh, the cleaner, he's a big fan of the podcast, mate. Yeah, he's a big fan, actually.
Yeah, he asked all the questions.
Yeah, fuck him. Nah, like, honestly, like, I don't care about people getting in the way of my camera and like all that shit. I do not care. It's not like I'm fucking filming some like mad film. It's just my sets. But I feel like every time I set that camera up, he's there with the Hoover in front of it. Or every time I'm doing something, the Hoover is under my feet. And it's like, I don't mind when you're in between a set, right? Because he's doing his job, amazing job, keeping the gym clean, top man. But it's when you're doing a set, you know, we're all focused, right? And he's literally hoovering my feet and is touching my feet. I'm like, bro, what are you doing?
Squat, 6 plates, just feel the Hoover.
Yeah, do you know what? One of my friends who was on the pendulum squat, in it, going up and down, right? And the bloke got the Hoover underneath his feet in the machine and started doing this, so it hit the machine. So the machine went like that. And my mate fucking threw the thing down and stormed out the gym because he was in that much of a rage.
Wouldn't even know what to say. I'm trying to think like,
We've had stuff like that before.
yeah,
Not
no,
to that extent.
imagine me going on like a 340 stiff leg deadlift, and like a cleaner starts just like cleaning the bar.
Mate, it's like that.
Yeah,
It's honestly mental. I now like mop all the floor near the deadlift platform. So like, you know, if you're not careful, you get your feet wet. And also, the fella's always on the phone. I have never known someone to be on the phone that much. Like, he'll do an 8-hour shift and he's just on the call the whole time. I'm like, how can you talk to someone for that amount of time every single day, mate?
It's going to be the
Anyway, I'm just ranting about something you don't even know.
This is new title. Joe calls out the FLF cleaner.
Yes.
Right, those are my questions, Finn. Have you got any more, or do you want
I got a couple of like shit ones, just like
I did, yeah. They were a bit naff.
should you do
What
for
are the
this?
standard ones?
One was about something about being. I mean, they must know that you're 30, mate, because they asked about being 30. It was like pros and cons for getting into bodybuilding over 30.
Fucking hell.
They must have known that you're old.
Rubbing salt in the wound.
We've never had one of
No,
those.
do you know
questions
what?
before.
This is actually a good point, to be fair. The one good thing and the positive thing about me doing that later in life is I have absolutely no FOMO, like fear of missing out of like nights out and people doing this and that, because I've done it all. My previous life, I've done every single night out possible, every rave, every festival, right? So like now when I'm just spending every weekend just chilling, doing nothing, I'm like, mate, I don't care, like this is what I want to do, and I know deep in my heart that this is the right thing that I should be doing because it makes me so happy and fulfilled, because I've tried so many different things. I've had like 10 different jobs, all these other things. So like the one really good thing about starting it a bit later is there's no possibility of me like falling off or like, oh, I've like fallen out of love with it, because I've found my love and I've tried everything else, you know.
Yeah,
That's a good
like
point to end on that.
Yeah, no, it's like when people would. Sorry, I'm adding stuff. Sorry, Finn. No, it's like, people get into bodybuilding and then they're like, I'm going to become like a fucking high rocks athlete, and then they hate it and they
Mate,
go back to
don't.
bodybuilding. Like, I feel like you've done sort of like me and Finn got into bodybuilding quite young, but like we played football, we had some nights out when we were 18, 19, and then I think we both were just like, this is shit. I don't like this. Like. And then you get to a point where you're now, where it's like, right, this is what I'm going to do until I can't, really. Instead of other people who just fucking hate the process and they just do it because of social media and then they fall off. And
Exactly, yeah. And the thing is, another good thing about being older is I started this, bro, before social media. Like, I found my love for it before. I didn't even know about competing. I didn't know you can make a job out of this. I just love training.
Yeah.
That's the same for us, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas now, like, people start now and the main priority is building social media, which is cool because it can give you a good life, but you lose that passion. Like, you lose the passion to just lift.
Yeah. If you're getting into it to try and be an online coach, like, I don't think you're going to be. Like, if you'd said to us, like me and Reese when we first started, like, in X amount of years, you'll be coaching, you'll be running a podcast, you'll be doing this, you'll be doing that, like, we'd have been like, what the fuck? That's amazing. Like,
Yeah.
If someone had said that, I'd been like, what do you mean? I'm doing a podcast. I'm on a podcast. No, like, you actually run a podcast and you talk about bodybuilding. I'd be like, what the fuck? Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like, but I didn't even think that was a thing back then. Whereas like now,
And
people
do you
are
know
like,
what? People now like rush the process of trying to be a coach as well, with absolutely zero sort of trust build up with their name, and like, you know, I know it's a bit cringe, but saying like each of us have our own brand and it is ourselves, right? Before I even wanted to start coaching, even though I knew what it was, like I was posting informative stuff on social media, like I was putting out just because I enjoyed making content, like, you know, posting my progress, all this, like probably for like 2 years on my old account, just shout, right, oh, this is some tips on how to get lean or whatever. Like, this is my workouts. And then I built up that goodwill. Obviously, people have been watching my journey. And then when I'd obviously said, all right, I'm open, like, I started like helping people with macros and plans like for free. And then I was like, oh, I can actually make some money from this. Then when I opened my doors, I'd already got all this, goodwill, like from people. Like I've been proving my trust to them. Whereas now it's like people, like their Instagram feed is like them on the piss with their mates, and then all of a sudden opening my doors for coaching. It's like, who are you? Like,
Yeah, and they're like charging as well. They're not like when we
literally.
started, I'd like literally be buzzing just to help people. I'd
Oh
go
yeah,
to
they'll get in shape once. Like they'll have a coach, right, and they've not done any knowledge. They got no knowledge, and they'll get in sick shape. Fair play to them, but then they'll go, right, I'm doing coaching now. It's like, bro, all you did was follow orders.
yeah.
It's funny. I think the people that get to the same destination, like I feel like we've all got there. Like your story sounds the same as mine and Finn's, because I think you do things legitimately in like the way that it probably should be, instead of like trying to speed run a online coaching, like almost speed run to be a sole trader, to be a limited company, to then like promote more stuff, get a business mentor, and it's like just enjoy the process. It takes time, and like it's something you can't rush, but people just love to. So yeah.
Building, I always say this to like I have some clients who are like becoming coaches, and that is like building a coaching business is a lot like building a physique. It takes a lot of work. If you do it right, a lot of work for not much return at the beginning, and then just consistently turning up, helping people. And the main thing is just helping people for free and putting out value. That's what people don't get nowadays. They're just trying to sell from day one. So you actually need to provide value. Like every time, you make a story, make a post, like try and actually deliver some level of value before you even open your doors. Because it's like, otherwise, it's like, mate, who are you? The amount of coaches that are out there, like, why would I go to you when you've got absolutely zero fucking social proof whatsoever?
Yeah.
So, right, we'll end it there. Joe, thank you for your time, mate. Hopefully
thank
you
you.
haven't ruined your sleep. You're allowed a 20-minute
Mate,
line.
I've just bought a CPAP, to be fair. That's what I'm doing tonight.
Mate, you've never used it before?
I tried last off season and my sleep was absolutely terrible, mate. But it was one with a big mask, and I just then started prepping my sleep improved. Whereas now it's like I'm starting my off season, and I'm just waking up like 10 times through the night. So I've got a CPAP. So just wish me luck.
It's been a game changer. Other than like it'll leave little lines here. I didn't have these.
Oh, I've got one where it's like that over my nose.
Oh, okay, yeah, mine's a whole face. I just sucked it up and literally just embraced it. It was shit for about a month, and I'd wake up, I'd take it off in the middle of the night when I was sleeping, and I didn't realise, and it was like worse. And now I can't even sleep without it. Like if I couldn't nap without it, like I put it on constantly.
I find because I like sleeping to sound, whether it's white noise or like a podcast.
I'm the same.
The sound of that actually puts me to sleep. It's when you wake up in the middle of the night. This is what I found, anyways, and you're like, you got this thing on your face, like what the fuck. But I've got a Zopiclone, so that should knock me out.
You'll be good. Right, cool. Joe, thanks for your time. Cool. Everyone, go give Joe some support. Drop some comments if you like it, all that sort of stuff. We'll have to get you on in the future, mate, when hopefully you're an even bigger classic guy. And hopefully you've got a pro card to your name soon, which will be cool.
Your body weight up.
Just get fat, mate. That's what it is. Just get fat. 126 kilos, just fat, mate. So yeah, cool. Right, that's that, guys. Hope everyone's enjoyed. Like, comment,
thanks for having us. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Right, see you guys. Bye bye. That worked. Mate, we're still on.